So imagine losing everything in a hurricane and then trying to start a beauty business. It's already hard enough to start a business as it is, but during the hurricane, right after you lost everything, it sounds insane, right? But what I'm about to tell you is a 100% true story. And so one of my original clients, Meaghan Bird, she called me back in 2017, right after Hurricane Harvey. I still remember because she had a 2-week-old crying in the background. Her mother was, I think, holding the baby, and she said, "Look, Jake, I've only got $1,000 to my name. I'm trying to start a business right now. I just lost everything. I was just like, she was displaced. She didn't have a home, and with all those circumstances, you would have thought that she didn't succeed. Well, 6 years later, I'm here to introduce her to you. And so right now I'm going to bring on Meaghan because she is like the ultimate success story that I've ever had. And so welcome to the podcast, Meaghan. I've never I've never done an intro for anybody like that before, but I've literally been waiting to interview you for 6 years now. I'm so excited to have you on. So if you could briefly just kind of take us back to that moment and kind of tell us what was running through your mind, and what was the situation.
Thanks, Jake. Back in 2017, I had taken my first class in January, and I was traveling back and forth between Louisiana and Texas, trying to build up my clientele in Texas. Was starting to gain a little momentum, and then Harvey came. I was 2 weeks away from giving birth whenever Harvey hit, and then I had to get taken out on an airboat to the hospital, and then luckily it was Braxton Hicks. I stayed with some family friends for a couple of days until the airport opened back up, and I was able to fly home to Louisiana to stay with my mom. Once I got to Louisiana, I had 10 days before I had my baby. I
Wow.
actually went 2 days over my due date. So after arriving to Louisiana, it was 10 days that I had to find a doctor and just a place to give birth. And it was a little challenging. I
Yeah.
lost everything. All I had was my diaper bag packed and a bag for me. My apartment was 4 feet, 4.5 feet of water, and then by the time I went back, they're like, "Oh, you can come get your things," and I'm thinking like, "Oh, I have something to like go back to or like grab," and then I got there and there was just mold covered from like the floors to the ceilings.
Mm.
I knew I wanted to still practice permanent makeup in Texas, and I was determined to do that. So I was still taking clients at a friend's place in Louisiana, and then I called you. I found you on Facebook, and I called you, and I was pretty much just like, hey, I really don't have any money, like nothing. Like FEMA gave me, I think, $2,000. I had some donations from family, friends, things like that. But really, like when I contacted you, I had $1,000 left to my name, and you were like, it's $500 to get started, like, and I think you thought I was lying at first.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like with your circumstances, and like you telling me you only had like $1,000 or something, I was like, I don't think she's gonna sign up. And then you did.
Yeah, I did, and then I was like, hey, I know I want to be back in Texas. I want to market myself in Texas. So, I hired you, and then we started my ads in Houston, and then I would like line everything up for like 1 week, and then schedule all those clients and run a small space for that week. And I gave myself a goal by December 31st, I will be in an apartment in Houston, and then I did.
So, one of my philosophies in life is, and I can't relate directly to your situation because I've never been through a hurricane like that and lost everything. But I know one of my philosophies that I try to apply to everything is just like follow your heart and just invest all in. And that's really what you did when you really took pretty much all your last money and put it into my services. And thankfully, you put it in mine and not some other random marketer because it actually worked. Every day if I'm like, and I'll be honest here, like I've never shared this with anybody else, but if I'm ever having a tough day, I always try to imagine like you sitting there with your baby crying in the background and just putting your trust into me. And I'm just like, wow, every single day people are putting their trust into me. They're putting you know their sometimes their last dollars or money that they don't have into working with me. And so I never take that lightly, and I always try to really think about that human being on the other side of the phone.
I was like, okay, this is it. Like, this is gonna make it or break it. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm staying in Louisiana, but this has gotta work. And when people would contact me, I would just tell them like, hey, like, I only have these dates available left for the month, and then that way I could schedule them all in that week. And I would drive me and my baby to Houston, and I would take clients 12 hours a day for 3, 4 days, and then pack up and then go back to New Orleans. And then by December 30th, I moved into my apartment. I said I was going to bring in the new year in my new apartment in Houston, and I did. I saved up enough money, and I got an apartment. I didn't have much furniture when it started. I had to rebuy like all my baby stuff. I had already had my baby shower. I
Hmm.
mean, everything. And then in the beginning, like, it was hard. Like, I still, like, for the first year, I went back and forth between Houston, New Orleans, and then I even went to Jackson, Mississippi, because I started building up a clientele there. And I just took clients whenever. I mean, for the first 2, 3 years of my business, I missed every holiday, birthday, girls get together, friends trips. I said no for everything. All I did was work.
And it's crazy to me because if I didn't know you and I go and look at your Instagram, I go look at your Facebook, you look like a rock star. You always got your stuff together. It looks like you're like super famous almost. Like you have a very awesome persona and a brand on Instagram now that you've built, which is awesome. But I would never look at you and say like, wow, she had nothing for a long time and she went through all those struggles. And so, the reason I bring that up is because I think it's easy to look at other people on Instagram and say like, wow, it must have been easy for her. Everything just comes easy. I mean, did anything come easy for you?
No, I mean, no rich parents, no handouts. I worked my ass off for everything I had, and I sacrificed in the beginning. I mean, I really like nice things, but in the beginning, I didn't buy myself anything. All my money went back into my business. And I know a lot of people say, oh, you need to be so, like, adamant about your time and protect your peace and all that. I didn't do that. If somebody called me at 10 to whatever time in the morning to come get their brows done, I was like, okay, let's do it. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
say no, because I knew, like, to be successful, you have to put in the work.
Yep, exactly. I think too many people sign up for whether it's microblading or just any kind of business thinking they're just going to get rich quick, and when they
Yeah.
realize like they don't understand the whole hustle your face off mentality like, you and I do. It's all about building a team and systems. And so let's talk about that. Do you have the same, I mean, I know you're a hard worker, but I guess what I want to say is like, do you have the same working 15 hours a day mentality right now, or have you built some kind of system around
Actually, I just let someone go this month, so I am back at that work, and I'm still here at the salon, and it's 8 o'clock at night. So, yeah, I mean, I do still have that. I did scale back for a while, and I was working more on my business versus in business, and I
that?
have to, like, sometimes when you hire employees, they think that, like, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that. They don't see the work that's going on behind the scenes. But I have to let them know, like, I'm not afraid to work. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
scale back, and I'm not working so much in the business.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it. And then, I mean, it's hard work, and I was having more free time, and I was able to get to that point, but I'm definitely not a person that's afraid to work. Like, I'll work my ass off.
Right. So how have you grown over the past 6 years? Like obviously back then you had nothing when you started, and then now like do you have employees, team members? Like how many locations? Can you kind of give us an idea of what you are now?
So after my first year with you, within my first 6 months, I actually bought a house my first year. I actually came up with my down payment. I was like, okay, how am I gonna make this work? I want to buy this house. I found the house, and I was like, I'm gonna get this house. And I came up with my whole down payment in like 2 or 3 weeks, because I was like, what do I have to do? I'm like, okay, no going out to eat. It was like ramen noodles and DiGiorno pizzas for like 3 weeks. But that first year, I kind of hired somebody virtually, because I think a lot of people think that you do all the work for them. That's not the case. You still have to put
Mhm.
in the work. You bring the clients to us, but it's up to us to close the deal.
Yep.
So I was working so much and getting so many clients that I could not keep up with all the follow through. So I hired somebody virtually to handle that. And then as I grew, I was only renting a space at that time, so I didn't need a front desk or anything like that. It was a small little room. So as I grew into my second salon, that was my first like place on my own. That's when people started coming to me, hey, can I work for you? And I was like, I don't know if I could get you clients. This is a lot of responsibility. I didn't know what I was doing at first. And then I hired a receptionist for in person, and then I had like 2 or 3 artists underneath me. And then we moved into this bigger space right after COVID. We actually signed the lease like right after we came out of lockdown, And then, I mean, we were so busy at that time. You would have thought we would have been slow. We were busy. I worked 36 days straight. It took us a while to get our permits, but we've been in this larger space, and I've been here since we moved in February of 2021. I have 3 artists here, a front desk business development coordinator, and then we have our general manager, and then I have the school that I just opened in Nashville, and then I still travel to New Orleans,
Hmm.
a couple times a year to host classes and service my clients that I still have there. And then we opened our location in Montgomery, Texas, about an hour outside of Houston. We opened that at the beginning of this year, and that does brows and lashes there.
And I really think, when I look at your life, I think it comes down to, the stories we tell ourselves. And so, like, a lot of people, like, if they had gone through your circumstances and the hurricane and lost everything, like, they would have had a very logical, justifiable reason to be like, well, I can't start this business. I need to just like find a 9 to 5, move in with somebody else or be like, play it safe. Like, you couldn't blame them if they did that, but that's not what you did. You said, you know what, I'm going to go out and get this. Like, I'm going to find my own apartment. I'm going to make it happen. And so I really like love that. And think that's a great quality about you. Like, when you want something, you go out and get
Yeah, definitely.
it.
I don't take no for an answer.
So let's talk about hiring a little bit, because that's something I've never really talked much about on the podcast. And so, if you could go back a few years ago, what would you tell yourself about like do's and don'ts of hiring?
To go with your gut instinct, like if you feel like something's off,
Yeah.
it's a no. And don't settle. Emily Joy, she taught me hire slow, fire quick.
Yep.
And it's kind of difficult sometimes, and I'm getting a little bit better with that, especially now that I have a general manager. I'm not the type of person that likes to fire people, so
Mhm.
I have a great general manager though, so that helps a lot.
So for the average, solo artist that's listening to this and they don't really understand what a general manager means, can you kind of talk about what, they do for you?
Taylor pretty much does everything for me, but she oversees, she pretty much closes all of our deals, especially for courses.
Hmm.
She oversees everyone's schedules. When people we request time off. So if they need time off, she handles that. She coordinates our weekly meetings. She does payroll. She does everything.
Awesome. So, and I know that's huge because, for you, it takes a huge burden off because now you're able to focus on, the promotion side of things or building your own personal brand or whatever you need to do that's like, your strengths. And that way, like you said, the firing and the hiring and the stuff you don't really like to do, you can, give that to someone else.
Yeah, I'm not good at firing or hiring.
So as far as like when you were having to hire your own people, where did you find them? Did you just make like a Facebook post or new people or?
So my first person I hired off of Instagram. She was my front desk person. My second 2 people came and they were like, "Hey, like I was like just trying to do booth rental. I was like, let's just do booth rental." And they're like, "Well, can we work off of you for a commission?" I was like, "Commission? Like, how am I gonna get your clients?" So I was like so nervous. I was like, this is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But they just came to me, and then I transferred the first front desk person I had. She became an artist for me, and then when she decided to do that, I hired a new front desk person, and then she was pregnant, and I relate to pregnant people, so I was like, I don't want to like let her go, like when she's on maternity leave because I'm
Mhm.
going to need somebody in that time. I asked her if she wanted to be an artist, and she actually was like one of my most loyal, longest employees that I had, and we're still friends. Like pretty much anybody who's like worked for me, in the beginning I wasn't doing contracts, I didn't know what I was doing, and that was a big mistake. So now we
Mhm.
have contracts that everyone signs to work here. But yeah, Janet was like my best employee and like did everything the right way. And when people leave me in a good way, it's like weird because everybody that worked for me at some point, they all still come to our Christmas parties,
Yeah.
our outings, and I think that's a big thing to know is like whenever you're hiring someone, you need to have a contract.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about marketing a little bit. We had an interesting conversation because we were talking about the conference the other day, and you said, if there's one thing that I wish I'd done more people to spend more on ads. It's crazy because I felt the exact same way. Like if I could just go back, I would have spent more money on ads. We would have both been so much bigger. So let's talk about ad spend because like you used to do like I remember a few years ago, like even like during the quote slow times, which weren't very often, but like you never like lowered your ad spend. It was always like, hey, let's put in more ad spend. Let's do. And so that was one thing I always like loved about working with you because I get so many artists who think they can just put in like $5 a day or $10 a day.
Me in the very beginning, because I had no money, I was like, well, let's
Yeah.
see how this goes.
And so I'm not saying those are not good starting points for people who are just starting out, but how much do you typically like to spend on ads now?
I spend a couple grand a month on ads. $100 a day. It just depends. Like, I do a training ad and a service ad, but I wouldn't say do anything less than 20.
Yeah, I agree. And ad spend is one of those things that I don't think people talk about enough because they think like, oh, I can just boost a post for 2 days, and if it works out, great. They almost treat it like a lottery ticket instead of having like long term consistency.
And two, now that the industry has more saturation, like you're competing with all these other people, so you can't just do $5 a day when
Yeah.
6 years ago microblading was still kind of new and no one was really running ads for it. So I had that little bit of advantage, but like, damn, can you imagine if I was doing $20 a day then or $50 a day?
Well, I remember like even like a couple like it was back in like 2018 or 19. There was some points where you were doing like $30 or $40 a day at least, if
Yeah.
not more. Because I think you once you learned the long term power of consistency, then I think you like started increasing more and more.
But my struggle back then too was still closing the sales because I didn't have a strong person to close it, and it was so hard for me to do it because then
Right.
that was back to me working. Because I would go into work at like some mornings at like before the sun came up, and I was leaving after the sun went down, and I still today I'm doing that, but I mean that's something that people need to know is like you have to be able to work your ad and close the deal, and I feel like you have a lot of helpful information on that now,
Hmm.
especially now.
Yeah, I remember like because like, and I almost felt bad for you because you would get like 500 or 1,000 leads per month, and I was like, "There's no way she can handle those." That's why I was like getting you to hire that. I don't remember her name, but you hired a couple different girls and tried to get them like we. I remember coaching them a little bit on how to respond to leads and stuff like that, and it worked. Not bad, but I'm sure you have a much better system now, of course, now that you have
Yeah.
a full team. So what would you tell like the new artist who's maybe feeling like it's a saturated market and like what do you? I mean, you're a trainer, so what do you tell your artists?
I mean, I feel like there's a nail shop on every corner. I feel like not everyone is going to like my style, not everyone's going to like your style. It's just people are going to gravitate towards you if they like your work and if you educate your audience and they like your work and they want to see you on your page and things like that. You can't just post a whole bunch of brows and not be relatable.
Yep, for sure. And I know you do a really good job of always having like a really cool pose with a really cool quote. So where do you come up with
Not
those
just the
quotes?
video, but speaking. I know you're always like, you need to talk more on camera, and I'm like, I'll take a picture.
Yeah, I mean that's the cool thing is like I mean I know videos are great, but this is like your first video podcast ever, right?
Ever.
Yeah, that's
I was so
awesome.
nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, Jake, you know how long I've been putting you off?
So yeah, it's great to have you finally on here on the PMU Marketer podcast. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about. Well, actually, I'll let you decide the topic. So, like, if you were to go back, 6 years ago when you started, obviously you've done great, but what would you, tell yourself like, hey, really focus on this or really avoid this?
It would have been to not get discouraged because in the beginning I was very like hard on myself. I'm like, oh man. But like now that I've serviced like thousands of clients, you can't please every single person. In the beginning I was still new and I was learning too, but I would get really discouraged. But I would think about I'm like, okay, well, am I gonna go back to bartending or am I just gonna continue? And I was like, I'm not going back to bartending. Like I'm gonna make this work. So I feel like your why and your reasoning for not wanting to go back to your old life or your old ways has to be stronger than like your reason to give up. And then really, if I could have went back, like I said, it would have been like my Instagram should have been my branding, investing a little more in my branding, and especially like my quality of pictures. Ooh, there's a lot. And then more ad spend.
Awesome. So as far as pictures go, do you have any like favorite techniques or apps or anything like that? Like, what is your typical picture process?
I really like my clients to always be making eye contact with the camera. It makes me cringe when someone's eyes are closed because I know when their eyes are open, a person like naturally makes eye contact with that picture and they'll stop scrolling.
A good
Versus when
point.
their eyes are closed, they just keep scrolling. And then not cleaning the skin properly when they have like pigment stains all over their face.
Yeah.
Uh, you really want like a clean canvas, same lighting and tone from your before picture and your after picture,
Hmm.
same angles.
And do you take yours with like a professional camera or an iPhone?
No, I still use my iPhone. I
Awesome.
have a professional camera and I've never even charged it.
I mean, it's funny because I've got a professional camera up here, and I'm just using my webcam right now because I think sometimes like the professionalism part, gets overplayed, and then you just get like it's like a black hole of like technology and like what settings do I use? And for me, it's just easier just to pick up my phone and just take a picture, because
Right.
these phones are so smart now. A lot of times they'll make better pictures than a professional camera.
That's what one of my good friends, he's a photographer. He's like, keep using your phone.
Yeah. So I know that we've also in the past, me and you have had a lot of discussions on like taxes and stuff. Do you have any recommendations or like for like right when a lot of times my audience is like people who are like new to business or like struggling business owners or new business owners or people who want to take it to the next level. I know I just named like every single category, but as far as taxes go, that it seems like nobody understands that. And so, like, what are your favorite tax write-offs?
Our business outings. No, for real. Like, I take my staff out quarterly,
Okay.
and for holidays. So when we get to go out and have fun together, those are one of my favorites.
Mhm.
But a big mistake that I made in the beginning was like commingling all my expenses,
Oh yeah.
and then it wasn't until I hired a CPA. She's like, "You have to stop doing that." I'm like, "Okay." So
So
that was like a big thing for me to learn.
when you say commingling your expenses, can you kind of explain that for the audience?
From my instead of using my personal account for like daycare, I might just do it on my business account, or if I'm needed to pay a bill, instead of transferring the money over, I would just pay like my credit card bill on my out of my business account, things like that.
It's that makes it a nightmare for accountants and doing your taxes. Yeah, and it's so much better. Like I have a credit card for every single business I have. I have a specific credit card. That way I can just look and say like, oh, these are all my expenses that I did, and it just makes it really easy as opposed to trying to like like you said, commingle with my personal accounts or something like that. It's so much better to have it separate.
Yeah, and then I was starting to, as I was doing different businesses, I was like putting one on the wrong card, and it was just getting confusing.
All right. So speaking of write-offs, my favorite tax write-off is something where I can, like you said, kind of go out and like travel and enjoy, make my life better while also making it a business expense. And so what the best way to do that, in my opinion, are events. And so, there's events all over the place at awesome locations. And one of them that's actually coming up is the PMU United Conference. And so I believe me and you will both be there. Is that correct?
We will. I'm excited.
Yeah, so I am too. So that's going to be in Little Rock. So in your opinion, what are the benefits that you like about conferences and events like that?
Honestly, the first time I ever took a conference, I still take courses. Like I try and take at least two courses a year. But the first time I ever attended a conference, I learned so much more than I
Mhm.
ever did not ever did in a class, but I just learned so many different things because there's so many different topics and so many different categories. So I learned more about color theory, needle theory, just so much.
Yeah, because not only are you learning from the speakers, but then you're surrounded by hundreds of other people that do the same, services and stuff as you, and so you can learn from them as well.
Yeah, and then like just networking with everyone, and then you get to watch the demonstrations. So it's just a lot of information to take in a couple of days.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this or watching this and you've never been to an event like this, I know networking is a very overused term in any industry, but like there's real power in getting around other people who are inspired and do like similar things as you and have the similar goals. So like for example, for this permanent makeup, like being around other permanent makeup artists who are, there to also learn and succeed. There's some kind of like I can't explain it, like spiritual or emotional or something, power of being around other like-minded individuals.
Yeah, I made some really good friends in the industry from the conferences that I've attended. It's not like other networking events you go to. Like I've been to several in Houston, and it's more like, oh, like what is she wearing? What is he wearing? Or and like let's take a picture together. You're just going to really be seen at some of these events, and then when you go to something that's for your career, people are actually there to learn and to grow and to get better in what they, they're investing into themselves. So the topics and conversations are just way different.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I'm really excited. This one's going to be in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's January, 27th to the 29th. That's correct, right? I think it's the 27th to
One
the
of those.
29th. But yes, well, I'll include a link below for anyone interested, but I am very excited. I'll be speaking there myself. I'm also, I'm not the type of person that just shows up and speaks on a stage and then goes home. Like I hang out, I'm going to be hanging out at the whole event. I'm going to be getting to know every single person there. And I look forward to meeting everyone there.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think we have a great lineup for
Oh
that
yeah.
conference.
Yeah,
So,
so who are the top 5 speakers you're looking forward to the most? I just put you on the spot
Luz
there.
Castellano, Taryn Darling, Ebony Kimbrough. She's
Mhm.
also one of the founders. I'm excited to see you speak on your topic.
Yeah, I've got some really good
Maybe,
secrets I'm gonna be
yeah.
revealing.
And then I'll be doing a demonstration on the English stretch mark.
Awesome. The lineup there is so strong. Like, I've worked with Taryn Darling a lot. She's just an amazing person, an amazing business owner. Leanne Law. I've done. She's
Oh
been on.
yeah, she was.
Yeah,
I've never met her, and I'm excited to meet her.
yeah. She's been on the
Uh,
podcast before. Very smart girl. Very, very good at what she does. Trying to
I'm
think.
really excited too because I know that you're bringing the permanent jewelry, so I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, we're
I'll
actually going to be giving away a free bracelet for everyone, so that's pretty awesome. Permanent jewelry is just an amazing add-on service for permanent makeup artists or any beauty professional, and so I'm really excited to share that with everyone too.
Yeah, I know you were sharing some of the success stories that people were having, and I was telling Taylor yesterday, I was like, man, we need to add that service.
Yeah, it's like every single day on the Facebook group, we have another student. It's like, hey, we made $2,000 today or $3,000, and I was talking to one of our students out of Tennessee yesterday, and she made $12,000 in November and is set to make more this month, and so it's definitely a very hot trend right now.
Yeah, I'm excited about opening my school in Tennessee. They have stricter requirements. The market's not really saturated. You have to go through a year of training, and I just set up that 1 year whole program, 700 hours for a year.
Nice. Is that for microblading or?
It's gonna be for microblade, for everything, brows, eyeliner, lip.
Nice. So it's like is that targeting like mostly like people in Tennessee since you have those hour requirements, or can people out of state learn from you?
I mean, they can, but it's 700 hours, so it's 33 weeks of online, and then the rest are 2 days in person.
And if somebody does want to train with you, where's the best way to reach you?
You can contact our business line, 713-574-9400, or just go to our website, symmetrybrowstx.com.
Awesome. And I highly recommend everybody going and following Meaghan on Instagram because, like I said, she's very inspirational to me. I'm always like looking at her for, like I said, cool inspiration and quotes and fun poses that I could try. I'm just kidding. I like to mess with her. I like to mess with her about all the poses. Yeah, I mean, go follow Meaghan. What's your Instagram again?
Symmetry Brows, or my personal is Meg with 2 G's and X0_.
Awesome. And we will put that down in the description below. So yeah, go follow her and get some good ideas for marketing and branding. And then feel free to if you enjoyed this, feel free to leave us a comment below, let her know, or reach out to her and say like, hey, Meaghan, we enjoyed this. Or, it's always good for us to get feedback because I know this is her first podcast ever. And, we're doing this on a Friday night. So we're literally taking our Friday night to provide you guys value. And so thank you so much, Meaghan, for joining us. Like I said, I've been wanting to interview you for years. And so it's like really awesome. I'm excited that I finally got to.